I have a speaking coach. Let me slow down. Slow down. Start all over. You know, it's funny because, you know, I practice and I do all this stuff, but like I said, I let God lead. So that's what I'm going to do. But let me tell you a little bit about who I am and why I was invited to speak here. So I am a published author. I am a motivational speaker. I own my own business. I coach women. I'm a coach. But most importantly, I'm the mother of 3 kids. I have 3. To me, they the smartest, baddest, all that. They mine, and I love them dearly. I have 2 teenage boys, and then I have my daughter. And that is truly my greatest treasure. And what I want to do here, you know, if you grew up in church, you know when a man of God or the woman of God says, I'm not going to be before you long, that's a lie. Right? But when I'm honestly, don't let them say it, because they're going to be before you long. But I honestly don't want to be here before you long because I'm not stuck in my story. I'm not in it. I stand on it. It is not my crutches that keep me crippled. It's the stairs that keeps me motivated and keep me going up. And I've done a lot, you know, and I get a lot of compliments. And a lot of people, you know, they praise me for the things that I've done. You know, I was the first, at the company that I recently resigned for, I was the first African-American, non-degreed woman that became a supervisor. His grace is sufficient. There's many things, you know, that I have done. Like I said, I published my first book, the first of 10 that God dropped down 10 books in my spirit. And I published my first one March of this year. And there's just all these accomplishments. But all of those things come with the struggle. The struggle is real, right? And like you were saying about the story, the real story, that's going to take some time for me to really get that out. You know, I'm really great at motivating. I'm really great at encouraging. But when I talk about my own stuff, sometimes that's tough. So all of that, everything that I've accomplished, everything that keeps me moving forward has come with a struggle, a real struggle. The struggle of not being able to feed my kids at times. You know, the struggle, I know a lot of parents know this. When you tell your kids, no, go ahead, y'all eat. Right. And then you in the kitchen and you eating off their plate, you eating their scraps, that struggle. Yeah. It comes with the struggle of being the oldest of 11. I have 11 brothers and sisters, and I'm the oldest. My parents, see, I'm the combination of 2 of the, let's just say, interesting people I've ever met. My father, Micah Sims, and my mother, Lorraine James. And my mother, right before I was, you know, during break, I stepped outside because she was calling. My mother, God, I love the way God operates. He's so wonderful. He knew that me getting up here, you know, I'm going to talk about her a little bit, you know, talk about, you know, some of the struggles. And so she calls, come and get me. Yeah, you know, and I'm like, really? Right now, Mama? Like, right now? You got to be on the phone doing this? And I'm going to tell you, my mother, she had me when she was 15 years old. We grew up in Pomona, California. I grew up in Pomona, California. My mom was 15, my dad was 16. Anybody know anything about Pomona? And in the 80s, it was popping. It was, you know, was not a lot of good things going on. And my parents both were involved in drugs and alcohol. And growing up in that area, being a little girl, let's just say bad things. Bad things happen to little girls in those areas. When people hear my story, they can't believe it, like Brother Benji said. Because some of the things that has happened to me, people only read in books or watching Lifetime movies. Because it's so tragic. And like I said, I ain't getting into that because I stand on my story, not in it. Growing up in that environment caused me to be tough. I didn't learn how to read or write until I was about 8 years old. But I published my first book in March. His grace is sufficient. Growing up in that area, what I knew how to do was fight. You know, because that's what you got to learn how to do. I became a fighter, and I fought. I mean, if you looked at me, I was ready. All the time. You look at me the wrong way, I was constantly ready to go. You know, I just pop off real quick. But what I realized is I wasn't fighting those around me. I was fighting what's going on in the inside. My sister said when she got in her car accident that on the outside everything looked okay. You look at me, and back then people would look at me and they would see everything looked okay. But what was going on in the inside? Those heart issues. What was going on in my mindset? You see, your mind is the soil by which everything grows. And my mind was constantly being fed negativity by the people around me, but most importantly by myself. You see, 85% of what we tell ourselves is negative. 85%. So we look in the mirror, bad hair day. We look in the mirror, you know, the dudes may say, I want to be bigger. The girls say we want to be smaller. You know, we look in the, or we just oh, I'm broke. Oh, this. Oh, you know, we constantly tell ourselves these things. So what I want to do for a very short period of time today, wrap this all up, I want us to go on a treasure hunt. Because what I've learned is my trials, everything that I have been through have been the treasures of the treasure box that I call life. They have been the things that have built me up, and I can now look at those and call them jewels. I can look at those and I'm so proud of every single hurt and pain that I have ever been through. So I'm going to hit on 3 points. First, we're going to talk about our language. We're going to talk about how when we talk to ourselves, the things that we say to ourselves, so important. We have to learn to change our language. The words that proceed out of our mouth are life and death. There's power. There's so much power in what we say. Next, we're going to talk about removing ourselves from negativity. People, places, and things. That may also mean that we got to turn off Empire for a while. I know. Don't hate me. Don't hate me. Right? Because I never watched the episode because I know I can't deal with it. Right. I can't put myself back in those situations, right? And then lastly, we're going to talk about what to do to get out of it. Like I said, I stand on it. We can tell you our sad stories, but now what? How do you get out of it? How do you get out of it? So in order to do that, I have to tell you guys, you know, there's plenty of things that I have been through. The pivotal moment of my life, though, that absolutely changed my life. I was too young, married young. I had my first son when I was 18. And you know, when you are looking for love in all the wrong places, instead of looking to the hills from which cometh your help, you do things to try to find that love. So I thought, okay, I'll get married. I grew up in the church. Some of you may know, my grandmother is the world-renowned Mother Rogers. She's my Gigi grandma, as we called her. My grandfather was a pastor. None of that mattered, because y'all know we some of the most messed up folks in church, right? We don't like to talk about it. We want to sweep it under the rug. But I was messed up. I was tore up. So instead of me getting the help that I truly needed because of all those hurts and pains, I turned to love. I thought, okay, if I could just get a man, that seems to be the common thread, love, in this conference. We all seem to be talking about love. And so I thought if I could just find somebody to love me, if I could just have a baby, oh, if I have a baby's going to love me unconditional. Oh, I know it will. Oh, my gosh, I know. So I get into this relationship. I have my first 2 children. Elijah and Moses, you know, I'm dedicating them to God, and they're going to love me, and I'm going to love them back. Me and my kid's father, we decided to separate because like Hama said, I was young and dumb, and I thought I needed to find myself. So let's separate so I can find myself, and we'll go, we'll separate, come back together when the time is right. So he has the kids for the weekend, and God has placed a seed in me to work and to work hard, to go after my dreams. I'm working 2 jobs and I'm taking care of me and my babies. And I'm INPD, whatever, that independent, right? I'm independent, Miss Independent. And I'm holding it down and I'm doing this and doing that. So my kids are gone for the weekend with their dad. He brings them back. My babies are 4 and 2 at the time. He drops them off and my boys are crying. Daddy, we want pains had not been resolved. And little Tamika showed up. See, a lot of us, we still have that little girl, that little boy inside of us that never felt love, that never felt treasured, that never felt those things. So little Tamika shows up, and I said, you know what? Bump it. Bump all of this. I take my kids and I drop them off. My mind was so messed up because remember, our mind is the soil by which everything grows. I was feeding myself, my mind, some of the most negative things. So I thought, you know what? I know what I'll do. Just end it all. I'm done. I cannot take it anymore. Cannot take the hurt. I cannot take the pain. I sat there in my room, dropped my boys off. I had 4,800 milligram Motrin and a bottle of Thunderbird. And that's some toxic stuff. That alone, right? Thunderbird. And I started drinking this toxic mixture. And you said, you know, people that have suicide thoughts or that suicide are cowards. Sometimes the pain is so deep and so heavy, you feel like there is no option. But what I can guarantee is that they're holding on to a will to live stronger than they are a will to die. They just don't know where to go. But at that night that I was taking that, I just felt this peace. It's going to all be over. I'm going to be done. But the Spirit of God, the blessings and the anointing that was placed in my life way before I was formed in my mother's womb wouldn't allow that to happen. Before I knew it, I hear a knock on the door, 2 police officers. And I'm big and bad. Go! What? You know, because I thought it happens in the movies, like how it happens in the movie. You drink, take the pills, and you die. It don't happen like that. Does not happen like that. So I'm sitting there. In the midst of that time, I talked to my kid's father. He called the police. The police come, they come knocking on the door, and they tell me I have 2 options. Either you go to prison or you go to the hospital. I'll take the hospital, thank you very much. I'm not going to prison for nobody. So I go in the hospital. I am in the ICU. You know, as an LVN, they have me having a babysitter. That's what they're called because I'm on suicide watch. I kid you not, every single person that walked past my hospital room looked at me and said, what are you doing here? What are you doing? You don't, what are you doing? Do you know who you are? Do you know who you are? I didn't know. Everybody else saw it, but I couldn't see it. What are you doing here? Why would you do that to yourself? Do you know how much you have to live for? Right. When you do that, when you try to take your own life, they make you go on a 72-hour hold, so I had to go to a mental hospital. I spent this time in the mental hospital. I spent a day, and I kid you not, an angel came in the form of a man, and he sat there with me, and he had me look. He sat there right next to me. I don't know this man. I don't know how, but God, right? He sat there with me, and he told me to look around. And I looked around. Some of the people that will be there for the rest of their lives, that are sentenced there, because they're mentally, criminally insane. And he said, you don't belong here. What are you doing? I don't know where this man went. I don't know what happened. I went to the restroom and he disappeared. I know that it was an angel. Can't nobody convince me different. Right. When I was released from that hospital, before I left, before my feet touched, back into reality, I prayed. First, I prayed for forgiveness. Second, I said, Lord, if you give me a chance, I promise you I will spend the rest of my days inspiring and encouraging. Right. And from that day forward, I began aggressive